Thank you to the witnesses. I know sometimes you're probably sitting there thinking that Congress, we do a better job at criticizing than fixing. Thank you for your patience and your courtesy. Also, I live near a subway, and I rode the Metro. I used to love to ride the Metro, but there's obviously these stories in the newspapers and on TV have been scary to me. So my first question is, could you quantify, has there been a decline in the ridership, and does that affect your budget? And the other question I have is also, there have been these very high publicized criminal incidences. There was a young man that was stabbed multiple times. There was a woman that was recently sexually assaulted. And I don't mean to insinuate that that was the fault of Metro, but my question would be, is there anything that you can do to make it safer, or are you doing to make it safer for the riders?
Excuse me, on the ridership levels first, yes, we have had a drop over the last 5 years. It's a combination, I think, again, of some of the quality of the service that we've provided, but it is also just the change in demographics. Telecommuting, particularly in this region, is very strong. The growth of Uber, rideshare, all kinds of things, I think, have impacted that. And we're not unique in that regard either. There's other properties around the country that are experiencing some of that as well, major properties. In terms of the criminal activity, it is an extremely safe system from that perspective numerically. It's very safe. It's 5 incidents per million, Part 1 incidents per million riders, which is extremely safe. That means nothing to obviously the person that's the victim, and does not mean much for the perception. We have applied a number of things in terms of policing. We basically put more police out there. We're moving people out from behind desks. We're moving people that used to, for instance, use our revenue train, which collect the dollars. We've contracted it out, so we have armed officers out there, sworn officers out there. We have a major recruitment underway to have our sworn to beef up that area. In fact, today we're meeting with Washington Council of Governments, in effect, to have an agreement with all the jurisdictions where we could bring in moonlighting officers, sworn officers again, to beef up the presence on the system. The reality is, if you do something in our system, we catch you literally within hours, if not days. Every one of these incidents, for what it's worth, we are getting these people. These things happen in a matter of seconds. And with a vast open system, it's extremely difficult, obviously, to be everywhere at every time. But it's clearly a concern for our customers and for us, and we'll continue to work it. We're working with, for instance, the local school system on issues. We follow social media to monitor what's going on out in the community. And again, we apply the resources accordingly, with the limited resources that we do have.
One more question. I see you got an award from one of my colleagues for firing. I think a better award would be for training. What are you doing about training so you don't have to fire?
Yeah, let me just, if I could, just I get no pleasure. It is that is the last thing I want to do is let someone go. I understand the impact it has on their personal life. So that is the key, is to train, to bring people along. And again, it's not just management, but it's frontline employees. So that is part of, in my estimation, is part of the change of the culture. That's how you get to the safety culture and the customer service culture. It's not necessarily through discipline. You have to have that tool. But that is the last tool I want to use personally. I think it's the last tool any manager wants to use. But on the other hand, you have to use it when you need to do it.
So what are you doing to up the training?
Basically, there's a number of things. On the frontline people, we're focusing on the safety training right now is one of our biggest things. Just basic, even how we even ID our people, for instance. We don't.
Are you holding classes?
Yes,
what are you doing?
Yes, a series of classes. We have outside vendors coming in, creating programs for us. We literally have to do it on an annual basis. We haven't even been doing that. We've been letting it slip, making sure that we're doing that. So it's recruiting people that come in that way. It's a combination of all those.
And this is required. Employees are required to go through the training.
Yes. Yes. Every new employee spends 4 days in training the minute they walk in the door, just so they understand who we are and what we do.
What about continuing?
And exactly, that's what they have to do. Some of them, literally, to have their identification badge, they have to have the training.
Thank you very much. Yield back.
Thank you. I now recognize